Okay, let's take a look at page 23, the modal auxiliaries. At the top of page 23, página 23, repeat after me. Can, could, would, will, shall, should, ought to, must, may, might. Okay, now let's go ahead and find in our workbooks the Modal Auxiliaries Study Guide, which is listed in the index at the front. It tells you exactly where to find it. Okay, you want to get out the study guide that says Modal Auxiliaries Study Guide. That's included in your workbook. We're going to use that for reference now. Okay, did we find it? It's in the table of contents at the beginning, listing where they're all categorized together. Okay, once you get to the study guide or the study sheet, let's take a look at it. It says on there, which I've explained to you, that unlike verbs, modals cannot be used in certain situations. Modals are not verbs and they cannot be used as verbs. So instead of telling you what a modal is, which is very difficult to do, it's much easier to tell you what the modal is not. Em vez de explicar que é modal, eu vou explicar para você que não é modal. Aí fica mais fácil entender. Okay? You never use modals. Nunca usa modals in the infinitive form. What does the infinitive mean? It means it's a verb that's not conjugated. Okay? It's a verb that has to at the beginning, like to work instead of she works. When you see the infinitive, you're never going to use a modal. In the third person, he works. That's a verb. You can never use one of these modals that I just went over with you in the third person. You cannot say, for example, he woods, he wills. It doesn't work like that. In the past tense, using ed, if you use a regular verb like work, you could say I worked, but you can't take a modal like must and say I musted. That's not correct. You can't use them with ing. You can't say I canning. You can't say that. You can't use them with do or does. You can't use them with, when I say can't, I'm talking in a negative. Repeat, I can't. I can't. When you're doing this, you can't use it with to be in a negative. For example, repeat, I don't work. That's fine because work is a verb. But you can't say, I don't ought to. That's not correct. Let me point something out here also, which I just mentioned to you, which has nothing to do with modals. Can. Americans often say can. But when they say can, you're not going to hear the ah. You're going to hear kun. The a becomes what we call a schwa, which is like a softened a. It's almost difficult. Schwa is a phonetic term. It's a that you can barely hear. So most Americans are going to say kun, kun. It's almost like they're going right from the C to the N. Repeat, I can go. I can go. Again, repeat, I can go. So that's going to cause problems sometimes when you're listening for the I can, and people are not going to say that. People might say that in a question if they're asking you, can you go tonight? And even then, many times you're going to hear the a softened version of it. It's going to be can. I can work tonight. I can go. If they say the negative, they're going to say can't. I can't go. Then you're going to hear that the a emphasized. I can't go. If they ask you a question, can you go? Can you go? They might say, can you go? But again, if the a is softer, can, it almost sounds like you're going right from the consonant to the other consonant, cutting out the vowel in between. Can you go? Okay, I just wanted to point that out to you because it's very important when you're speaking English. Repeat. I can work. I can work. What are you saying? I can work, but nobody speaks like that. Okay, I explained to you here that the modals you cannot use as verbs, and that's the most important thing you need to remember. Here's an example of a modal being mistakenly used as a verb. If you say, for example, repeat after me, I can go to the party. That's not correct. That's ungrammatical. Because you cannot use the can as a verb, because it's not. The verb is to be able to. And in this case, we're not using a part of to be able to. We're using the modal, which is different. And the modal, you could say, for example, repeat after me, I am not able to go tonight. Repeat. That would be okay because you're using the verb. In this case, once you put can, it doesn't work. Because can here is a modal, not a verb. Don't confuse that. Okay, let's take a look again at page 23. You can keep your study sheets for later and go over them. But for now, let's go ahead and go over page 23 step by step. Once you get back to page 23, I want to take a moment to look at the board. Modals. What are modals? I explained to you that they're not verbs, and to use them, you cannot use them in any way that a verb can be used. So you're going to be doing the opposite. Now, there are certain expressions, and these are the most common meanings for these modals. Modals are used many, many times in English, and I'm going to show you pretty much what they mean. Some of them are interchangeable, which means you can use more than one. Can, in this case, is not the verb. I explained to you that the verb is to be able to. If you say, for example, I can't work, you're talking about the verb. Here you're talking about ability or possibility. It can also be an informal request. For example, if you want to say with the modal, can you call my mother? What are you saying? You're asking if they have the ability to call your mother, or if if it's a possibility, se é uma realidade, se tem uma habilidade para fazer isso. It's also an informal request for can. It's an informal request when you want to ask for something. Can you help me? Você me pode ajudar? Esse aqui quando você está pedindo alguma coisa que não é formal, é uma situação que você faz com seus amigos, com uma pessoa que você já conhece. Can. Could is similar. These two are interchangeable. Pode trocar em várias situações esses dois modals. However, this is for polite requests. I could say, can you help me fix my car? Você me pode ajudar a consertar o carro? Repeat. Can you help me fix my car? Repeat. Now, try it with this one. You can interchange it. Could you help me fix my car? Very good. Now, could is a polite request, and your chances of getting a yes answer, if your chances of getting someone to say yes is going to be much greater when you use this. In English, if I had to recommend to you, if you were asking somebody for something, se você está pedindo